Before we discuss some specific travel trends that I'll be passing to Rowan to give you her overview of, it's worth revisiting who Scotland's leisure visitor is. Around 3/4 of all visits taken in Scotland in 2024 were for leisure purposes, so that includes both holidaying and visiting friends and relatives, with purely holiday being the main purpose for both international and domestic trips. That's over 2.5 million international holidaymakers and 3.5 million domestic holidaymakers in 2024. With an average spend of £390 per trip, leisure visitors make up a huge 79% of total tourism expenditure in Scotland, and that's driven by higher spending primarily from the international visitors at £922 per trip. Main markets travelling to Scotland by volume are shown on the screen. In 2024, we saw a continuation of suppressed domestic travel following the post-pandemic surge in staycations in 2022 and the ongoing cost of living pressures. But domestic visitors continue to make up the majority of visits and holiday visits to Scotland in 2024. Length of stay from this market is stabilising at around 3 nights and spend per trip is increasing. However, the total volume does remain down on 2022 and 2023. Positively, the first half of 2025, that's January to June, was stable on 2024, and we are expecting to soon report an increase in domestic visitors in Q3 of 2025. The USA, Scotland's largest international market, reached nearly 1 million visitors in 2024, and alongside Germany and Ireland grew in terms of volume, but saw shortened stays, which offered occupancy challenges for the accommodation sector and a lower total spend as part of that trip. France is notable here after a shift from a full recovery in 2022 and pre-pandemic levels, record visits in 2023. Total volume fell in 2024, but does remain above pre-COVID levels. And Dutch visitors were the exception, with increasing length of stay and spend offering good growth opportunities for Scotland moving forward. Looking ahead into 2026, Visit Scotland's intelligence across a range of sources indicates continued growth of international inbound tourism to Scotland and a steadying domestic market. The USA will remain our single largest international market, but growth will slow, and we've seen that during 2025, both in terms of spend and visitor volume. Opportunity markets include long-haul markets, particularly China and India, which were strong growth markets prior to the pandemic and are building in confidence to travel long haul again. Emerging high value markets in the Gulf Coast countries and near neighbours from Europe. As discussed on the previous slide, trip behaviours relating to shortening stays and the resulting reduction in spend are challenges for the sector, as is the shortening booking window and last minute decision making we're seeing from both domestic and international markets. I've talked a bit about changing behaviour from visitors and the impact that has on the overall health of the tourism sector in Scotland. Global consumers remain motivated to travel, so that's positive, but they are prioritising to ensure their travel reflects or aligns with their personal goals, with their resource and their own ethos. And that's both during planning and in destination. The movement in spend per trip that we've talked about and in average length of stay across markets is a clear indicator of economic pressures, with fewer nights spent in destination, but higher spend on experiences as part of a stay. In 2024 and 2025, we've seen generations prioritising differently due to different economic realities, particularly younger UK residents sacrificing day visits and prioritising overnight trips. We also anticipate further movement in timing of trips into the shoulder and off-peak seasons as a reaction to economic pressures. With these economic uncertainties, personal health and well-being come to the fore again, in building on increased awareness of travel as a support for well-being in the aftermath of the pandemic. Leisure travel continues to be seen as an opportunity to get away from it all, and visitors want to feel supported in that journey from inspiration to in-trip relaxation. And you can't get through a discussion on trends or prospects without mentioning artificial intelligence, and within the context highlighted so far today, one clear implication for tourism businesses of shortening booking windows is limited planning time. As visitors look to hotwire their itinerary building with AI, you need to ensure your product is findable and bookable. You should consider artificial intelligence as the new search engine optimization, so make sure your business is ready to be found and then inspire action from those visitors and potential customers. Increasing environmental awareness continues to influence travel choices, with global travellers seeing access to information about sustainable travel options as a consumer right, no longer a nice to have. And over half of those asked recently by Booking.com were actively looking for more sustainable options when looking at destinations and travel product online. So what are the likely behaviours or motivators for travel resulting from some of these changes? I'll hand over to Rowan.
Thank you, Leslie. So today I'll be describing 3 consumer trends that were initially identified in 2025, but are evolving as we journey into 2026. So our first enduring trend is that of multi-generational travel. We identified this last year as a key element of our celebrations trend, where families were traveling to honour a special occasion. Moving into 2026, extended family travel continues to have a moment. And while this is likely being driven by the chance to spread costs amongst multiple family members, the added benefits of bigger family holidays include making lasting memories and fostering deeper family connection. This trend has been evidenced by the likes of Hilton, whose research found that more than half of adults traveling with their children or stepchildren say that their trip party included at least one adult child aged 18 or older. And 44% of parents who travelled with their adult children paid for the entire trip. Skyscanner have also identified this as a trend, with 51% of Gen Z and 22% of millennials having travelled with their children and parents in the past 2 years. Multi-generational travel provides the opportunity for visitors to build a lifelong relationship with Scotland. The second trend that was identified in our 2025 trends paper, but is continuing into 2026, was set jetting, where visitors are being inspired to visit places based on their favourite TV and film sets. During 2025, we've had the continuing addiction to the Traitors, the latest addition to the Outlander universe, and the Gothic retelling of Frankenstein that have all put Scotland on the centre stage. We know from our visitor survey conducted in 2023 that almost a fifth of visitors, 19%, were inspired to travel by storytelling through film, TV, or literature. However, as you can see from the other figures on this slide, visitors also enjoy visiting cultural and historical attractions that can be associated with the wider storytelling appeal of film and TV rather than just the filming locations. Scotland has a wide variety of film and TV productions connected with our culture, as well as longevity of appeal. Braveheart still gets mentioned, even 30 years later, as inspiration for travelling to Scotland. This provides a great opportunity for us to capitalise on the diversity of stories and emotions connected to multiple productions, rather than just visiting a location that is linked to a film, TV show, or character directly. And finally, as Leslie alluded to, wellness travel trends are absolutely here to stay. Wellness experiences can be the main reason for travel, or an added layer of value being integrated into broader itineraries. Travellers are increasingly seeking holistic experiences focused on leisure, culture, or adventure, offering opportunities for various providers across Scotland. For 2025, we identified visitors' desires to engage with the outdoors through therapeutic experiences. And for 2026, we are specifically looking into the benefits of water wellness in particular, as we can see pioneered by our Scandinavian neighbours. While we do not have hot springs available to us, Scotland has lots of cooler water locations that are perfect for a refreshing dip. And one of the fundamentals of hydrotherapy is the hot-cold contrast. So many wild swimming locations have started investing in saunas to replicate this experience. Many of you may be aware that Loch Tay Marina, for example, launched its first floating sauna this year. Water wellness doesn't just cover specific wellness activities such as hydrotherapy techniques. Water sports such as surfing, kayaking, and canoeing are all energizing and revitalise the senses, so are also good for wellness. Many of these existing propositions that I've been speaking about do exist within Scotland, however, they're just being looked at through a different lens. As you can see from our visitor survey results, a visit to Scotland was strongly associated with improved physical, mental, and emotional well-being, speaking to this trend. That's just a very quick overview of the enduring trends for 2026, with the full trends paper being made available early next year. Thank you.